With NASCAR making it through the Charlotte Roval, there are now only 4 weekends left in the season, so the round of 8 has now began. This is going to take place at the Texas Motor Speedway, the Kansas Speedway, and the Martinsville Speedway. Texas and Kansas are using the 550 horsepower package, while Martinsville is using the 750 package. So these are going to have totally different ways of deciding who makes it in to battle for the championship at Phoenix. Well, today what we're going to do is go through the 8 drivers, see how they've done at these tracks as well as types of tracks and some other measurable statistics, and also look at playoff trends overall. And we're going to see who probably has the best and worst shots at making it to the next round. So without further ado, let's get to it. First off, we have Brad Keselowski, who is currently last of the 8, minus 16 from the cut line. Brad Keselowski this year has been a driver who's just basically clung on to contention throughout the season. He's never really been the best driver out there, but at the same time, you know that he has the ability to string 3 or 4 races together. When you look overall at his average finishes, he has been 7th of the chasers with the 550 package at Texas with an 18th place average finish, but he has been the best with the 550 package at Kansas. Kansas looks to be the track that he could win the most at, because when you look at the next race at Martinsville, he's averaged 11th overall. Now, something that should be really noted here is that Kansas is an outlier for Keselowski. When you look at the 550 package overall, he's around the middle of the 8 chasers with an 11th place average. And when it comes to the short tracks this year, he hasn't been that good. So if Brad Keselowski is going to go out and get a win to get in, he's going to have to do it at Kansas, I think. 7th on the grid is Joey Logano. He is minus 11 right now from the top 4. Looking at Logano, he has a pretty solid resume at both Texas and at Martinsville. Actually, when it comes to the 750 package at Martinsville, since 2018, he has had the best average finish of anyone with a 4.0. Plus, you also have to add into the fact that the reason he won a championship was a win at Martinsville in 2018. So you know he's going to be a factor at that race. And it's really backed up with how he's done at the short tracks this year. He's 3rd best on average at the short tracks of the 8 playoff drivers with a 6.3 average finish. Now, when it comes to the 550 package, it's a little hit or miss, though. He's 2nd best on average at Texas with an 8.5 average. But when it comes to Kansas, he's 7th best with the 17th place average. Aside from his win last fall, he has not finished higher than 15th under the 550 package when it comes to Kansas. Now, he's run in the top 5 at Texas, but he's also shown the ability to flounder in the back. And when you look at his last finishes at each of these tracks, Martinsville is the only one that's been relatively competitive at the end. So he might have to put all his chips in that bag. And maybe he'll just have to play damage control through the 550 races. Currently 6th on the playoff grid right now is Chase Elliott, and he currently is only 2 points out of the top 4. Elliott's a driver who can perform very well at these races, but there is one track that he just struggles at, and it's Texas Motor Speedway. His last 4 finishes at Texas are 20th, 12th, 32nd, and 13th. So suffice to say that he's not one of the better ones at this track with the 550 package. But he is good at both Kansas and at Martinsville. 2nd best of both racetracks of the playoff drivers, with a 6.0 average with the 550 package at Kansas and a 4.8 average at Martinsville. Now, he has struggled compared to the other drivers at the short track races and 1.5 mile 550 races. So the trends aren't exactly in his favor. Aside from being a 20th place finish at Texas last time they were there, he finished top 5 at both Kansas and Martinsville. So Elliott has the ability to make it up there. It's just a matter of mitigating the damage at Texas, I think. Currently 5th of the drivers in the top 8 is Kyle Rowdy Busch, minus 1 from the cut line at the moment. Now, the big thing we have to talk about with Kyle Busch is the fact that he won the last race at Kansas, and he won the last race at Texas. Kyle Busch is a driver who hates the 550 package, but when you look at how he does with it, he has been far and away the best driver in the field at the 550 package races, especially at the mile-and-a-half tracks. He averages a 3.9 average at these tracks, and he's been the best driver at Texas since 2019. Also, while he hasn't been the best overall at Kansas, his improvement has gone much, much better in the past year and a half. And the thing with Busch, too, is he's the only driver in the top 8 right now who has finished in the top 10 in the last race at all 3 of these tracks. Like I said, he won at Texas, he won at Kansas, and he finished 10th at Martinsville, which is a track he struggled at in the past. Now, 4th on the grid, and the first driver above the cut line right now is Ryan Blaney, who is a point above. Ryan Blaney this year has really turned it on at different times, but been very streaky. When you look overall at how he's done in these tracks, in these packages, it's been middle of the road to bad. He has been the 4th best at both Martinsville and Texas with these respective packages, but he has by far been the worst at Kansas with the 550 package with a 20th place average finish. And when you look back at his finishes, aside from a 7th last fall, he's finished 21st, 20th, 21st again, and 32nd. Not looking too good for him at Kansas, but if he can make it past that, he has been relatively good at pretty much any of the other tracks. I mean, 2 of the last 3 races at Martinsville, he's been the runner-up. And when you look at how he's done as well at Texas, he has run top 10 aside from the summer race in 2019. So it's not like he's really someone who's going to be out of it as much as he's someone who could be pushed out from one race. He's going to probably be in contention to win at least one of these. I mean, he finished 4th the last time they were at Texas, so it's not like he can't make his way into the next round. 3rd on the playoff grid is Martin Truex Jr. He's currently 6 above the cut line. Now, Truex is someone who I think a lot of people should have confidence in. He's been the 3rd best at each of these tracks with each of these packages since they've been run. He's been the 4th best this year at mile-and-a-halfs of the playoff guys, and he has been by far the best short track racer. When you look back at how he's finished these tracks, he's finished 2nd at Texas, 6th at Kansas, and he's won at Martinsville. So, I was wrong about the Kyle Busch deal. Truex also has had a top 10 in every one of the last races run at these tracks, and he's averaged a 3.0 average finish at them, meaning he's been the best so far of the last races at these tracks. When you look at Truex's last couple runs, he's finished 2nd in the last Texas race. He has had 4 straight top 10s at Kansas. And when you look at Martinsville, he's finished in the top 5 in 4 of the last 5 races with the 750 package, and he's won 2 of the last 3 races at Martinsville. So Truex should be somebody who is well in contention for a championship bid. Currently sitting 2nd on the grid is Denny Hamlin. And in my opinion, Hamlin is probably one of, if not the hottest drivers in NASCAR right now. So anything that's really good for him might get better. When you look at how he's run under the 550 package, he's been okay. Around the middle for both of these tracks. 14th for Texas, 9th for Kansas, and a 10.4 average since the 2018 750 races for Martinsville. Now, he's been one of the best short track racers this year, keeping up with his teammate Martin Truex Jr. with a 4.0 average finish. And he's had an average of 7th at the 550 mile-and-a-half races this year. So he's been 2nd best of the chasers at both of those. Great things for him. Also, last race at Texas, finished 9th. And while he hasn't been good at the last 2 Kansas races, the 2 before that, he won. And while he hasn't been too great at Martinsville in the past couple years, he's Denny Hamlin at Martinsville. He can make up that ground. When you look at his last finishes at each of these tracks, he finished 9th last year at Texas, like I said, 12th at Kansas, which isn't awful, isn't something that's going to destroy or derail his championship, and then a 3rd at Martinsville. So Denny Hamlin is another who will very much be in the thick of things. Last, and definitely not least, is Kyle Larson, the winningest driver in NASCAR right now, who is currently 42 points above the cut line. Now, it's kind of hard to judge how Larson will do in this round. When you look at his average of the 550 races, it's only 2 races you can look at for Texas, and they were not very good. A 12th in the fall of 2019 and a 39th in the first race of 2019. That's a 25.5 average, which is far and away the worst, but he was racing for Chip Ganassi Racing, so it's kind of hard to judge. When you look at Kansas under this package, you get a little bit better. He has an 8th in the spring of 2019 and a 17th in the fall, and he finished 19th this past spring at Kansas, but he was up front a lot, and a late restart was the reason for that. So I don't know how much of that you can take into account. Now, Martinsville, on the other hand, when you look at Larson, he has really not been too good in his past there, but he was not very good in 2018 there, but he finished 5th at Martinsville this past year, and who's to say he's not going to do very much better? So I don't see him being the worst of any of these, but right now what he needs is just no disasters. Now, before leaving this, I want to pull out my inner Larry Mack here and look at a few trends. Now, we've had this format since 2017, which means we have 4 years to look back on. And when you look at it, there are 2 spots in the playoff grid of the top 8 who have made it every single year of the 4 years we've used this system. So for Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. fans, that's a good thing because it's 2nd and 3rd. Now, there are 3 spots that have made it 3 times. This is 1st, 4th, and 5th. So Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney, and Kyle Busch, relatively good chance at least 2 of you make that. And then there's 1 who has made it once, and that's a 7th one on the grid. This would be Joey Logano this time. 6th and 8th place guys on the grid going into this round have never made it into the championship race at Phoenix, Homestead, wherever it may be. Chase Elliott and Brad Keselowski, when it comes to that trend, you have a tough hill to climb. So when you look at it, those who have made it in the past are guys that usually have a pretty good cushion. The lowest that anyone has made it coming into this round is 5 points back. The highest of anyone who's ever missed is plus 45, and that was Kevin Harvick, who so far has been an outlier. With all of those stats, all of those trends, all of that being put forward, I want to ask you now, who do you think of these 8 will make it to the championship 4? Let me know down in the comments below. While at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content like this. And to all my channel members, thank you so much for all of your support. So until next time, have a good one.